Hello everybody. Welcome to the TESOLVE Technology Symposium. This is being organised by TESOLVE, your silicon and systems engineering partner. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Disha. For those who are unaware, TESOLVE is a global engineering partner with services in VLSI, test engineering, PCB, and embedded services. We were founded in 2004, and we now have over 3,000 engineers across the globe, located in 12 different countries, with offices in 23 different locations. Next slide, please. Here's the agenda for today. I'm pleased to thank Dr. Satya Gupta, who is the CEO and President of IESA, who will give our keynote regarding the India Semiconductor Ecosystem. Then myself and my colleagues will spend the next 40 minutes after that explaining what we see as the technology trends in our industry and how TESOLVE is responding to those particular trends. But first of all, we'll start with our keynote, Dr. Satya Gupta. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Disha. Going to share my screen now. So good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I understand we have people joining this seminar from all across the globe. I would like to thank TESOLVE and the organizers for inviting me. My association with TESOLVE goes back to the days when it was founded in 2004 with Raja and Virappan when started TESOLVE as a test company. Over the years, I think it has grown to be a basically multifaceted company doing all aspects of the VLSI design, other than the test, which has been basically its forte. Can you go next, Disha?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I'll be talking about making India a semiconductor product nation. As Mike introduced, my name is Satya Gupta. Currently, I am president of IISA Society of India. And earlier, basically, I was founder and basically chairman of IESA. Can you go next, please? So, people who have been old enough, like me and Mike and others, have seen the earlier days of India rolling back to 1980. It used to take hours to make a phone call home. You have to stand in a line, basically, and then you have to wait for your turn. And it would take basically hours to make a 3-minute call. Today, India has progressed based on the shoulders of the technology development, where we have landed on the moon's south pole. So this stupendous technology progress has happened over the last 4 decades. Can you go next, please? So it's not just this. Currently, India is on move to make strong technology progress based on the strong programs from the government of India, like Digital India, Startup India, Make in India. Now, because of these programs, several important platforms which basically are creating digital public infrastructure at a population scale, things like Aadhaar, which is a national identity program, UPI with a digital payment program, ONDC is a basically program for e-commerce vendors, small ones. Vande Bharat is new age basically train network, and Bhashini is a basically program where you can converse with anybody in any language, Indian languages. And because of all of this, today India is basically number 5 economy in the world, first in the digital payments, first in the data consumed, second in the production of the mobile phones, second in the basically startup ecosystem, third in railways network, second in the rail network. So all across the board, basically significant progress is made, and that is lot of it depend on the what has happened over last decade or so in the world of the digital electronics and semiconductors. Please go to the next. Now, when we are making this much progress, this creates a significant opportunity for electronics and semiconductor products. Uh, Today, we consume in India about $200 billion of electronics products. By 2030, we will cross $500 billion of consumption. Even at 33% of the products can be done in India by Indian company, that produces a opportunity of $160 billion. Similarly, in the semiconductor product domain, today we consume about $25 billion of semiconductors through various devices. It's expected to grow to $100 billion by the end of the decade. And if we make basically 33% contribution to the $100 billion through Indian semiconductor product companies, fabless companies, that produces an opportunity of $33 billion. So both electronics and semiconductor, uh, based on the consumption, based on the opportunity, we can say together it's about $200 billion business opportunities for Indian companies, Indian entrepreneurs, and basically overall electronics and semiconductor ecosystem in India. Go to the next. So if you look at the India's fabulous success story, I think the first successful fabulous semiconductor company was Arcus, early 90s. And since then, basically, there have been plethora of companies which have succeeded in semiconductor product or popularly known as the fabulous company. Arcus, Armedia, Cosmic Circuit, Mousechip, Open Silicon, Aura, and so many others. On the other side, there has been very strong presence of the design services and ecosystem support companies like TestSolve, SmartPlay, Concept to Silicon, Synapse, Sankalp, InfoChip, AdaptChip. And there are more basically today, there are more than basically 100 fabulous startups, and there are more than 300 basically design services company catering to the different aspect of basically semiconductor industry. Can you go next? So if you look at the self-reliant vision for electronics and semiconductor in India, as with any sector, the progress of that sector depends on the products which we produce, right? So for us, it's the electronics products and chips and ICs. Okay, this has to be ably supported by the manufacturing. In electronics, the EMS manufacturing, in semiconductor fabs, ATMP, OSAT. And to make all of this happen, there has to be a significant availability of the research and basically employed talent. And the whole ecosystem has to be supported by basically infrastructure, ecosystem, ease of doing business, long-term economic policies, and so on and so forth. So if we basically look, and we are going to talk a little bit more, the government of India has basically created initiative in all the three domains, as well as basically provided significant financial incentive for the companies to do semiconductor product companies, semiconductor manufacturing companies, and also talent development. Can you go to the next, please? So some of you might have seen at the beginning of 2022, Government of India announced India Semiconductor Mission. India Semiconductor Mission had basically multiple aspects of developing a wholesome semiconductor ecosystem. The first pillar of that was basically semiconductor manufacturing, where government has put together a incentive package of $10 billion for any company which wants to do semiconductor manufacturing in India. The government of India will provide 50% incentive on the project costs in a pari passu manner. That means you put $1, government will put $1. Once the policy was announced by Government of India, several states have come forward and put 20 to 25% on top of it. So that makes it somewhere around 70 to 75%. States like Gujarat, Uttar Pradesh, Odisha, Bangalore, Telangana, Maharashtra, all of them are basically giving incentives on top of basically Government of India's 50%, right? In addition to that, states will provide the infrastructure support in terms of basically utility, building, electricity, water, and basically helping the ecosystem companies also to come, which we can provide the necessary ingredients like gases, chemicals, and other services to make the semiconductor manufacturing successful. This will cover semiconductor fab, display fab, compound semiconductor fab, ATMP, OSAT, across all different types of the technologies for all different applications. In my understanding of the global incentives for semiconductor manufacturing which different countries are giving, this is the most impressive set of incentives any government is providing in terms of the quantity of the support. So anybody basically who is in the audience or otherwise would like to take up this opportunity, this is the excellent time. Can you go to the next? The second pillar of the policy was design link incentive, which was primarily created for semiconductor product companies, aka fabless companies. So the more than 1,000 crore Indian rupees were allocated for this policy to create more than 100 fabless product companies, and 1,000 crore number can be increased if they are more basically in need. In this case, 50% of the total expense by a fabless company will be provided by the government. And typically, as you know, fabless companies basically take a investment somewhere. A medium-sized company takes $10 to $30 million, right? And on top of the government of India's 50% incentive, some of the states are giving 20% extra. So that makes it 70%, right? In addition to this, realizing the cost of EDA tools is one of the basically big expense for the semiconductor fabless companies. Government of India will provide free tool access from all the leading commercial tool companies for all the qualified companies for the DLI. So that basically adds another 15%. So if you add all the three, 50 plus 20, 70 plus 15, almost 85% of the cost of the fabless company is being incentivized by the government. I don't think there can be any better basically incentive for young entrepreneurs and others to come forward and start semiconductor product fabless companies in India. This is the best of the time. We want to make working with the government together a fabless startup or a semiconductor product startup as easy as doing a software startup. If you have a laptop and an idea, you can go to the beach and start coding, and rest of the things will be taken care by the ecosystem and the government. So far, about 7 companies have been approved under these programs, which are doing different kinds of the products. Please go to the next. Third pillar is basically creating the required talent to support the domestic and the global semiconductor ecosystem. So toward this, basically, Government of India has started a C2S program where 104 organizations or institutions have been basically approved. They will give, they will get financial assistance plus basically all the infrastructure in terms of the EDA tools free of the cost. To expand the education system and bringing the chip design to larger set of our young uh, engineers, a BTech program in VLSI design has been approved and started. Uh, in this academic year, about 120 institutes covering about 7,500 students will be enrolling in this new BTech program. And the master's program in the VLSI design is the existing program which has been running for many years. About 500 institutes and about 8,000 students are going to be produced. So if you look at the overall demand for VLSI engineers, uh, there is a requirement of about 1.25 lakh design engineers over the next 5 to 6 years, and about 10,000 people in semiconductor research and manufacturing. So these programs will help in providing that basically scaling of the resources, both for domestic use and the global support, right? To enable all of these things, Government of India working with CDAC is opening a chip in center where things like providing the access to EDA tools, providing the access to the foundry, making sure the people who want to tape out, also in terms of the education and other things, the chip in center will provide all the necessary infrastructure. Uh, Few other programs, MIT and NSF from the USA. There is a research program initiated between the two countries. And also the Ministry of Telecom has identified basically critical chips for building the robust and safe infrastructure in India. And several projects are being funded. Several large projects are being funded in this program also. Can you go to the next? So I think I would like to summarize my today's talk with basically uh, a, a dialogue from one of the India's iconic movie called Diwar, and the mega star Amitabh Bachchan. मेरे पास माँ है, which means in English is I have mother with me, right? But for today's discussion, India has a strong market. India has a very large talent pool of manpower, and the manufacturing both in electronics and semiconductor is growing. What we need to complete the family is PA, which is partnership between basically the different countries, including the USA, and semiconductor products and electronics product, so that we can leverage and take advantage of the huge opportunity which is in front of us, and make India a self-reliant country in electronics and semiconductors. Next, please. So thank you so much. I think would like to invite all of you to join this journey, and let's make India a semiconductor product nation and become a significant player in the global supply chain. Thank you so much. If there are any
Thank you,
questions,
sir.
we can take a couple of minutes with the
No, we have
organizer's
to.
permission.
Thank you very much,